Hello world, my name is Matt Spa, and I take photos and I make videos, and I take photos of people making videos, and I make videos about taking photos, and I even make videos about making videos. But this video is about audio, and in particular a new piece of gear that I just got. And my plan is to unbox it right here, give you a little overview of all the components that come in this kit. And then I'll go off for a couple of weeks. I'll shoot some fancy B-roll, I'll put it through its paces and come back and wrap this up with hopefully some really good information for anybody who's in the market for something like what I've got. And what I've got is the CAD E100SP. They're calling this SP is Studio Pack. This contains 5 different components, the main one of which is the most recent version of the CAD E100 series of microphones. Those mics have been out, I think, since the 80s. I'll double check that before I do the back end of this. It's a fantastic mic. I have borrowed them, I've rented them, I've used them in studios that I've been in, but I've never actually owned one. And what pushed me over the edge to buy this one was that this entire kit was less expensive than the normal retail price on the microphone. I think this mic normally sells for $299, and if I'm not mistaken, I got this at B&H. The whole kit ran me with tax and everything was about $250. So let's look at the components that are in here and see what I have bought. I have, very first and foremost, the AcoustiShield box pop. So just a basic clamp type pop filter. You can put this in front of the mic and it helps to reduce the popping of your P's if you have a problem with that. The next thing in here is a 25-foot XLR microphone cable. 25 feet, wow, can go a long way. So I'll open up the ends of this, kind of check the solder joints in there and give you my 2 cents. What's next? The Connect 2 CX2 USB audio interface. This is a really simple 2-channel audio interface. If you don't know what this does, this is an analog microphone. So you can't plug a USB cable into it and plug it directly into your computer. This is analog. It will use that XLR cable to send that analog signal to something that's then going to convert it into a digital signal that your computer can record and then use, and that's what this does. I will compare this to my Motu M4, which is the interface that I normally use when I'm out and about because it's bus powered. I'll also compare it to my Zoom F6, which in my opinion has a little bit better preamps in it. It's a little bit cleaner, but we'll see. It's nice. I'm not going to throw this. I'm just going to set that down. Next, we have the AcoustiShield, the AS10. Okay, so this is it's a little wraparound. It's a little blanket, a little whoopee for your microphone to reduce the amount of noise that's coming from opposite the speaker, the person who's speaking. Does that make sense? Anyway, it's a little whoopee, and it wraps around. I've used these in the past. I don't know if they really do that much. I think the bigger they are, the more effective they are. So this doesn't appear to be very big, but we'll try it out. We're not gonna judge until I get it out of the box, but then I'm gonna judge it and I'm gonna tell you what I think. And the last thing in here is the microphone itself. This iteration is referred to as the E100SX. There were previous versions of this that came in a really nice wooden box. It was kind of fancy, and you can still find those. I can't get it open. You can still find those. Here we go. It's got a magnet. I like that. It's not a wooden box, but it's got a magnet. What do we have? We have some, nice little schematics. We'll get B-roll of the schematics. I've got a couple of extra rubber bands for the, did I drop them? I just saw them here. Oh, they're there. A couple extra rubber bands for the shock mount. This microphone, I think I mentioned, it's not unique, but it does have some really cool features. And one of them is that its shock mount is kind of built into the microphone stand and everything all itself. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I literally have not had this out yet. There it is, shock mount, see? It's wiggling. I'm gonna put this down. There it is. I'm so happy. So various versions of this had different looks. Some of them were gray. There was an SE model that was gray body with a lighter gray grill. There were some with gold grills. This is all black, and I kind of like that look. It has a high pass filter, which means you can tell this microphone don't record the really, really low sounds. So rumbles and things like that, things that are outside the range of the human voice, it can not record those, which is nice. It has a pad switch. The pad switch will kind of reduce the sensitivity of the mic. So if you're recording a really, really loud audio signal, it won't below your levels, you can knock it back down. So it's got the adapter to put this onto a microphone stand. I actually have a little boom arm that I'm going to probably use for this. And then there's where the XLR goes in. So that's it. That's the CAD E100SX and the E100SP Studio Pack. So now, through the magic of video, I will spend a couple of weeks playing around with it, and I'll come back and let you know what I think. Time has passed, probably more like 6 weeks since that first segment was cut, but it's given me more time to work with this microphone and try it out in different situations. And spoiler alert, I have decided that I really like it. There were a couple things I said in that opening segment that I know were wrong. One, I said that it came out in the 80s. It actually came out in, what is it? Hang on. The original E100 came out in 1992, so corrected that. I also said that this microphone had interesting characteristics but was not unique, and I think I want to backpedal on that just a little bit. I think that this mic, this combination of features, actually might be unique. But before I talk about the mic, I want to talk about the other components in the kit. The XLR cable is 25 feet long, and I opened it up and the solder joints look just fine, and it has no noise, and it's a great cable, and you should, be really happy to have it. The pop filter is very capable. It's a little bit bigger than the ones that I normally use, and I found that I liked that. It's super bendy, and it's got a good clamp on it, and I think it will probably serve you well for many years. The AS10, which is the little acoustic shield, acoustic shield, is, as I originally thought, largely useless. It's just too small. These things should be like 3 feet tall and 2 feet wide, because that's about the point at which they start actually doing anything, in my opinion. Now, this is a supercardioid microphone, so it does pick up sound in a small lobe right behind the capsule. So in that case, this may actually provide some type of benefit, but given how complicated it is to set up, I don't have any use for this. If anybody wants it, I'll make you a really good deal on it. I would probably trade you like ham sandwich. I'll let you have that. The Connect 2, which is the USB interface, I found to be highly capable. The last time I was shopping for an interface, they were still AC powered, so you still had to plug these into the wall. And I'm guessing that everything now is bus powered. When you plug this into your computer, it's automatically powered. So that immediately made me think, well, must be really nice. I compared it to my Motu M2, and it doesn't have the metering capabilities, and I would say that it probably doesn't have quite the gain of the M2, but it was still very capable. I would, if I had to use this instead of that, it wouldn't bother me a bit. Now, when I compared this to my Zoom F6, the F6 blew it away, but the F6 costs 10 times what this does, and it's a 32-bit float recorder, so that's not really a fair comparison. I'm kind of approaching all of this as if you are thinking about getting into voiceover, or maybe you've been doing voiceover and you're looking to really up your game in terms of equipment. This would be a game upper, especially if you're using like maybe a USB mic or something like that right now. If I had to say anything bad about it, the knobs are kind of dark, and then the little line on the knob is kind of dark. So if you use this in the dark, you might not be able to tell exactly where the line was adjusted to. And I'm really stretching there, obviously. The microphone itself is wonderful. It exceeded all of my expectations, and I really do think that this configuration is unique. The first time I used it was on a professional session. I have a professional voice actress in the neighborhood, and she actually has a studio brick in her house, which if you don't know what a studio brick is, that might not be a big deal, but it's a very expensive, very heavy, very big piece of gear, and it's basically a sensory deprivation cabinet that voiceover actors go into, and they do their thing in there. It's dampened on the outside, it's dampened on the inside. It's fantastic. And this thing performed beautifully. This microphone has a little dip in the upper mid-range, so those frequencies are not as loud as the others. And a lot of people, because of that, refer to this microphone as dark sounding. I don't think this microphone sounds dark. I think that it's a 4 or 5 dB dip. It's not a lot, but I think that it takes the edge off, particularly for voiceover applications. And I recorded acoustic guitar with this too, and it did kind of the same thing. It took the harshness off. And that's where I come to kind of the first word I'm using for this mic, is that it's listenable. there's nothing fatiguing about what comes through this microphone and out your speakers. It's very smooth and very even, and that makes me happy. It's less to do in the post-processing. I have some audio here of Carolyn that we'll play.
We'll first review connecting from a mobile device, which is the recommended way to join. You'll need a front-facing camera, a strong cellular connection with 3 or more bars, or a high-speed Wi-Fi connection.
I've been listening to Carolyn talk for more than 20 years, and I've recorded Carolyn with different microphones in different situations, and I feel like the recordings that I got from her with this microphone were some of the best that I've ever gotten. And this might be one of the cheaper mics that I've ever used, but I think that little dip up there, it kind of reduces sibilance, the SE sound, but it just takes the edge off of things. The second way I've used it is in a situation like this, where I'm in a 300 or 400 square foot room that's not really treated. You know, we've got the curtains drawn and there's a carpet on the floor, but there's no acoustic panels up. I'm not surrounded by dampening material or anything like that. And you can hear for yourself kind of what it sounds like. I think the supercardioid pattern really helps out in a situation like this. The other word that I'm going to use is forgiving. So it's rejecting some of the reflection that's coming off maybe that wall, or there's a monitor right here that's, it's glass. It's going to throw some frequencies around. The third way I used this was in podcast situation. I have a client and we recorded 6 episodes of their podcast and I used this microphone. And that was in a terrible room. It's in the guy's office. There's actually glass all the way up one wall and bookcases and a hard desk surface, and it's not ideal. But again, that's where it kind of comes into being forgiving. Let's play some samples of Luke.
When I think of the history of the church, and specifically of the church in the West, I tend to think of very far back to Rome and Italy, and then with the Reformation, I think of continental Europe. And I don't think of a lot of contributions other than, say, like John Knox and the Westminster Confession and those things that came out of the United Kingdom. What are some of the significant things that have been passed down to the church by way of Christians in the United Kingdom?
Here again, you've never recorded Luke and you don't know what he sounds like with other microphones, and I can't really give you the benefit of hearing all that, but I can tell you that in that situation, in that podcast situation, where you're dealing with people who are not necessarily professional voice actors. Now, Luke talks professionally, he's a pastor, but he's not a professional voice actor. And in that situation, people are moving around and they're tapping the desk, and they might even make contact with the arm, and that noise is not getting picked up because the way this shock mount is configured, the shock mount is isolating the body of the microphone from the arm, and it's built into it. It all comes with it. You don't have to buy a separate shock mount and mount it every time you want to use it. But also, the capsule is isolated from the body of the mic. It's listenable and it's forgiving. It's unique. Like I said, if you're thinking about getting into voiceover or you're looking to up your equipment game, I think you'd have a very hard time finding a way to be disappointed with this setup. But if you buy this and you decide that you don't like this mic, send me a picture of yourself with a really sad face because you bought it, and I will buy this microphone from you for, $200. I'll give you $200 for the mic. You could probably, if you parted all this out, you could probably make money on that deal. And I'll do that until I have more of these than I know what to do with. And I don't know how I could be more emphatic in my praise of this microphone. But it's just, it's a fantastic piece of equipment, and I highly recommend it. I hope that the information that I've given here has been helpful to anybody that is looking to up their game. And I thank you so much for watching.